Well, here we are. It's Monday, June 1st. And as we talked about a few weeks ago, the auctions, they ebb and flow. It was a busy period in March and it quieted down for a little bit. And some sales closed out in April and May and so forth over in England. Now they're coming back here in the U.S. And there's a number of good sales popping up. We've discussed the Leland Little sale, which is coming up in a couple of days. Michael Grogan's got a good sale, very good sale coming up in a couple of days. And Freeman's now, I noticed just over the weekend, put a sale up that's starting on the 25th of this month. So you've got a little over 3 weeks to get your information and decide what you want to buy and get ready to participate is really what it amounts to. And this is the sale. Here it is. And they've got this very, very nice Kingfisher panel on a piece of Z-tan on the cover of the catalog here. And then we're going to go through. We'll take a look at some of the lots. There's a lot of stuff to look at. There's a lot of interesting things in here. There's some things in here that are going to be very modestly priced. There's some very unusual things in this sale. It's an interesting little sale, I have to say. And there's some nice Tang pottery figures. I actually sent an email to Ben Farina over at Freeman's this morning to find out a bit more about them. And he said that they tested out. They're absolutely fine. There's no problem with them. And they came from apparently a very good collection. There's a very nice snuff bottle component to this sale from a well-known collector, and it's being sold to benefit a local hospital and some other things. So we're going to go through it, and I'll show you what caught my eye in the listings. Right off the bat, one of the things I want to talk about is this vase. This is a very curious piece of porcelain. It's listed as Chinese, but according to Ben, there's some back and forth whether or not it might be a Japanese piece. It's copper red ground with blue and white underglazed blue decoration, white resist decoration of another dragon. It's a four-clawed dragon, and this kind of vase they did do them in Japan. The Kozan studios made very similar types of pieces, but the bottom of it looks very Chinese. This is the thing that's curious about this vase. I think it's a great thing. I don't really care where it's from. The bottom of it looks, the texture of the paste and on the bottom and the glaze and so forth, to me looks Chinese. And I think that's probably why they put it in as Chinese. And the dragon decoration, the way the dragon is drawn, is a bit on the Japanese side, but also very Chinese in its execution. I think it's a 19th century pot. It's very big. This is a big vase. It measures 24 and a half inches tall. It's a very interesting thing. If you like to look things up and do some research, you might want to look into this. This could be a very good piece of porcelain. The quality looks excellent. The estimate is reasonable, $1,000 to $1,500. So for whether it's Japanese or Chinese, doesn't make any difference. It's a heck of an interesting object. And I think you're going to have to do some real digging to figure this thing out. I looked around a little bit this morning, and all the pieces I came up with were examples done by the Kozan studios that were like this. So, but the dragon style is equally possibly to be a Chinese as well. So it's sort of a mystery. I think it's a great thing. If you like interesting objects, that's something to look at. And then this is the Tang pottery figure. There's several of them in this sale. This one really caught my eye. I thought it was so beautifully done. The details in it are excellent. He's got the bird on the hat, which you see on Tang figures and so forth. And this is a large figure. This thing is I think it's 38 inches tall. It's quite large. It is located in Chicago. So if you live in the Chicago area, you can swing by and pick it up. But it's beautifully done. It looks like it's in good shape. And they had it tested, and they checked out the test on it and so forth. It belonged to a Dr. David Giardenti in Rockford, Illinois. It's 38 inches tall. This is a wonderful-looking piece of Tang pottery. The quality is quite excellent, I have to say. And there's also a court lady. Now, this one's a little smaller. It's 22 inches, still sizable, almost 2 feet tall, also from the same collection. Very nicely done. Rather these sort of buxom Chinese court ladies that were so popular. You see them in these pottery forms. You see them on the walls of tombs painted in this manner, and they were integral to the Tang court. They were major. The women of the Tang court had almost as much power as the men of the Tang court. They were very influential influential. They were involved with ideas and oversight regarding education, healthcare, this sort of thing in the country. The men were involved with the military, banking, and finance. The women were to do with the sort of the cultural side of things, education, health, raising children, cohesive communities, and so forth. And these were the voices for the women at that time. And they had a lot of, there was actually a woman who became a Tang emperor at one point. But anyway, this is a very attractive piece. The estimate is just $2,000 to $3,000, which I think is very reasonable. And the estimate on this is $1,500 to $2,500. I think if the consensus is that these are all period, they're going to go well through these estimates. I'll just warn you right up front. This looks like they both look like they could bring. You could probably add a zero or so onto the estimates, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think that's an opportunity. And then over to this. There's a very nice. Now this is not a huge. This is not a very early jar. It's a 19th century 5-dragon jar, but it's sort of a lantern form, which is quite attractive. And it's a fairly big jar. It's 15 inches tall. But the cobalt decoration on it is quite pleasing. Very carefully drawn, very nicely decorated. So if you're a 19th century porcelain buyer and you want something big, very attractive, very well potted, and very well decorated, this is a nice piece. I think it's quite attractive, and the estimate is reasonable as all get out. It's $800 to $1,200, and it does measure exactly. Oh, it's just 15 inches tall, 38 centimeters. Nice looking piece of porcelain. And then hopping along over to this is the Kangxi period Amari planter. Again, I always point out planters. I like planters because I think they're wonderful to have in a house. You can incorporate them into your home. But by all means, as I always say, put a plant in the thing. Don't just leave it sitting around naked. And this one is a good size too. It's 15¼ inches in diameter. So it's got some size to it. It looks like it's in very nice condition. You want to get a condition report, but you'll notice that the gilding and all the enamel decoration, the classic red, gold, and blue, underglazed blue decoration, that's the classical sort of Kangxi Amari palette. Nicely done. It's got a reticulated openwork on the base. It's well-shaped, beautifully potted. This thing is nicely done. There's the bottom of it with the big flat base and recessed bottom to it. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. The estimate is only $1,000 to $2,000, which for me seems extremely reasonable. I wouldn't be surprised if it went through that estimate. The starting price is just $500. It's something to consider. If you're a Kangxi buyer or you like early ceramics or you're a plant lover, this is a good thing to buy. Just saying. I think that's a nice thing. So by all means, chase that down. And then there's this very interesting. It's listed as Dewa, but it's actually from Qing to Chen, I think. But they use Dewa just to mean white porcelain. Late Qing to Republic period U-form vase, but it's fairly large and it's beautifully decorated. It's got acanthus leaves going up the side, lotus and vine flower decoration, nicely splayed bottom on it, nicely finished all the way around. It's got a chin lung mark on the bottom, but I think my gut is based on the way the foot looks and the way it's glazed, it's probably a late Qing, second half of the 19th century example. It's very attractive. It's estimated at $1,000 to $1,500 with a $500 opening bid, but it's big. It's 17 inches tall. This is a nice, big, tall vase. It's a good-looking thing. And then hopping over to this, Qingbai. And it's a water dropper, and it's a very unusual form. You notice they use the tail feathers as a handle, and the head, of course, is the beak. But it's got a it looks like it has a fairly thick Qingbai blue glaze on it. It's nicely done. And Qingbai pieces lately have been getting some interest, I've noticed. Some of the pieces and some more recent sales did very well. And they should. These are nice looking, this is probably an early Yuan example. They made them, of course, during the Southern Song into the Yuan dynasty. The Yuan period, they did a lot more experimentation with forms and shapes. They added iron splashes onto the glaze sometimes when they did them. And this is another example. The tail feathers here are all beautifully carved out. Spin it around. It's a good looking thing. And it measures 3 9/16, a little over 3.5 inches tall. It's estimated at $2,000 to $3,000 with a $1,000 opening bid. But it is a water dropper and it is a scholars tables object, so it should have some interest. I think scholars buyers are pretty fanatical, and if you collect them, you want to check that out. That's a good looking water dropper. Beautifully done, nice color. And then on the snuff bottles, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of good snuff bottles in the sale. This one I liked. It's a Filmo Rose example. Appears to be, I don't know if they dated it. It appears to be a 19th century late Qing example. It's got a chin lung mark on the bottom, but it's wonderfully decorated, beautifully done. It looks like it's in great condition. And this came from that collector, Dr. Thomas Klein. And he apparently was a very, very well-known snuff bottle collector. And the money is being sold, they're being sold to benefit the Jefferson Hospital. I assume that's a hospital in his area where he donated the pieces. And they could probably use the money these days in the hospitals more than they could use a snuff bottle collection. So it makes sense that they're selling it. There's a bunch of snuff bottles. We're going to go through a few of them, but if you like snuff bottles, you like, particularly there's some very good stone carved, pudding stone and that sort of thing carved bottles, as well as some jade bottles. And there's some very nice glass, overlaid glass bottles. There's a bit of everything in it. And they're all sort of estimated in that friendly $800 to $2,000, $2,500 range. There's this, a really nice mother of pearl bottle on the left, sort of what do you want to call that? Like a moon flask moon flask shape, I guess. That's all carved out. And then this very nice coral example. These are both late 19th, early 20th century bottles, done in coral with a chimera climbing up the side of a vase. That's very unusual. This one here, I like that a lot. And I think the mother of pearl bottle is quite interesting too. You don't see mother of pearl snuff bottles very often. I think that's a fairly rare bird. So if you go looking it up, you may have some trouble finding a comparable price for it. Just buy, if you bid on them, bid on them with the idea that these are both nice examples in both sort of rare types. Coral bottles became very popular, as a lot of you know, during the late Qing, early Republic period. And they did lots of carvings and figural things, but you don't see a lot of snuff bottles of them, and you don't see a lot of them with chimeras climbing up them on a vase form. I think it's a nice pack. It's a nice combination. But the other bottle also is lovely. The estimate is very reasonable, $800 to $1,200 with just a $400 starting bid. It's already got 24 people watching it, and it's only been online for about 72 hours or so. But that's also, it should encourage you to bid on it, because it means a bunch of people are recognizing that these are good bottles and they're very unusual. Snuff bottle buyers often gravitate towards rare types and forms made of unusual materials. And if they're unusual materials, they're also maybe an unusual shape and beautifully done. And these both have those qualities. I think they're really nice. And then over to this, two very nice cinnabar carved bottles, both 18th century, one with fruit on it and one with phoenix on it. Nice color, good, deep, rich color on these, beautifully carved, nicely polished. Both of them are of equal quality as far as I can see. Sometimes they put together lots, and one of them is sort of a wreck, and then you have another really good one as an encouragement to bid on both. This is two good bottles, two very good lacquer bottles. Nicely done. They have their stoppers. This one still has its original lacquer stopper. This one has a lapis stopper on it, but it may have been original, but I suspect it had a lacquer one originally. But it's very pretty. It works. Green and red go well together. Christmas colors, $800 to $1,200. And then over to this is one of the, there are several overlay lots. This is one with sort of snowflake ground bottles overlaid with red. Here you have a man carrying sticks or wheat maybe or something, or rice, some sort of crop over his shoulder. And then in the middle one, you have a chimera, very stylized, almost archaistic looking. And then on the left, you have what look like horses. You got a couple of horses, maybe another horse over there. It's a nice lot. These are quite attractive. And here you have a fisherman on this side, catching fish, another chimera, and these look like deer, and maybe a dog on this side, a deer and a dog perhaps, or a deer and a horse. I can't tell from the picture. But beautiful quality, nicely done. And this one has a very nice carved coral stopper on it, very attractive. The estimate is $1,500 to $2,000, which is, I think, about right. These overlay bottles, if they're good, if they're 18th century ones in early 19th century, they generally sell for between $600 and $900 a piece. So I think the estimate is certainly about right. And the starting price is just $750. And it's got 5 people watching it so far. And then over to this, hair ornaments. Hair ornaments have become so popular lately in the last few years. Really interesting. And these are Kingfisher hair ornaments, of course, and they've been collected. They're very popular among women collectors going back a long time. They appear to be in fairly good overall condition. This one has some minor losses. It looks like maybe up in here around some on this one, but the rest of them look fine. And that's what you're buying. This one has a jade inset panel with coin symbols on it and so forth. There they all are. And it's a nice lot. I'm kind of surprised they didn't break it up. Maybe they didn't have room in the sale for it. They're all 19th century, very nicely done. They appear to be in overall great condition, and they have nice forms to them, nice shapes. And look great. Buy one for your wife and have her wear it out to dinner. $3,000 to $5,000 estimate, $1,500 opening bid, but very desirable. Anything with Kingfisher is very desirable. And then in the painting world, there's a bunch of paintings in here. Now, this is an interesting painting. If they've attributed it to Zhang Daquan, and it's sealed and all that stuff. But when it comes to his work, you have to do attributions because he has been copied. But I believe this one came out of a collection that they were familiar with. It's a gentleman on a pine branch. Nicely done, good colors. It looks like his work. It's certainly in the manner of his work and so forth. What do they got here for history on it? Property of a New York collection acquired, from the artist's family. Okay. Oh, I think I heard about this. He mentioned this. Yeah. Yeah, there was a family in New York that they go back to Taiwan, and they were friends with Zhang Daquan, so they did it that way. It's a nice picture. It's a very appealing picture, and estimated at 10 to 15,000 with a $5,000 opening bid. And then over to this. This is a really lovely picture, and it's very big. This is an unusually big 19th century painting. It's 51 by 40 inches is the image size on it. So with the frame, you got to add about 4 inches on each side, or 3 or 4 inches on it. But it's a classic sort of interior scene. It's a very popular subject matter during the 19th century of fathers with their sons. And here you have maybe a grandfather with his grandson, and here you have a father with a son, and they're sitting in this very lovely, courtyard setting. And this is obviously a very prosperous Chinese family, maybe a government official or an intellectual or something, because they were the people that lived this way, or a very wealthy merchant. But this lovely setting, but the colors are nice, the spacing is good, and it's just a very charming scene. But this is a big painting. If you need a big Chinese painting, and you happen to live now, is this in Chicago or Philadelphia? Okay, this one is located in Philadelphia. So if you're in the New York area and you want to get an advantage here, here's your chance, because you could drive to Philadelphia and pick this painting up and save yourself about a $700 shipping bill. All right, because it is large, 40 by 51 inches. So it's a big piece of art. But I think it's a wonderful picture. I think the estimate is perfectly fair, $2,000 to $4,000 opening bid. Very attractive, though. Really, really attractive painting. There's a bunch of good pictures, and if you like paintings, there's some good paintings in this sale. And then you have this one by Wu Dao. He died in 1895. He was an ink painter. Nicely done, classical sort of mountain landscape scene that you would see sort of back in the earlier days, the Sung and the On, and those periods when they did this kind of art. But this one is nicely done. It's not enormous. This one is shippable. I think the painting is about 10 by 11 inches square, roughly. Let me double check that. 10 and 3/4 by 10 inches. And then you have, of course, the frame adds a bit on in each end, but it's a very, very attractive package. I think wonderful mountains, very sort of almost dreamlike, the way they rise up through the mist. I like that a lot. Very classic, and $800 to $1,200 estimate. And then over to this, this is a Kisi Bogu panel. And Bogu just means, well, in this case, it means 100 antiques pattern, the classical antiques. And here they all are on it. And this is on silk. This is woven into silk, beautifully done, nice color. So at the top, you've got all the different precious object vases, incense burners, more vases. You've got some statues down here, more vases at the bottom. You've got a rue scepter coming out of a pot, bud vases, little Meiping vases and all that, with lots of birds, I guess, around them and so forth. This is a nice panel. It's a good panel. And it's pretty good size, as I recall. Was it 60 or 50? It was 52 by 19 inches in size. The textile itself, so it's pretty good size. It's 4.5, a little over 4 feet long, and almost 20 inches wide. So it's not a little panel. It's a good sized panel, and again, very attractive. $2,000 to $4,000 estimate. That's a nice thing. It's a good piece of silk, and the other good piece of silk is this, of course. This is very nice. The Jifu robe, second half of the 19th century, but done in light blue. It's sort of an unusual color. For one of these with floral decorations. It's a woman's robe, very nice patterning on it. Looks to be in quite good condition all the way around. Beautiful fabric, though. Beautifully done with all the flowers. All flowers all over it. Perfect for spring. Estimated at $2,000 to $4,000 with a $1,000 opening bid. It's already got 15 people. I think it'll do pretty well. It's an unusual ground color. You see dark blue all the time, but you don't see light blue or aqua blue, those tones very often on these robes. But here's one. You see them on skirts sometimes, but you don't see them often on robes. And then hopping along over to this, you have Zhengwu Ming bronze. He was the Taoist warrior. Here he is, seated in his dotage, in his old age. This is a nicely cast piece, though. You notice the folds on the robes are very nicely done. Little details, like the feet are still, the little toes are sticking out and so forth. And you have nice details around the hands and face and so forth. The gilding, is still some gilding on it that appears. Looks to be in overall pretty good shape. Look, it's a nice shape. Yeah, there's a dragon on his chest. Because he was a military rank fellow, so he has a dragon. Nicely done. And he's a Taoist figure, so you again have dragons. $1,500 to $2,000. I think that's a fairly low estimate. This piece is 10 inches tall. I think the estimate is $1,500 to $2,000. I suspect it'll go over that, but you don't know. Ming bronzes have been all over the place lately. As far as prices go, but this one looks absolutely fine as far as authenticity goes. Probably 15th or early 16th century. Nicely done. And then over to this. This is nice if you like Chinese enamel on copperwares. This is a very attractive 18th century dish. It's about 10 inches in diameter, and it's got the dragon coming through the clouds of the center on a sort of a light yellow background. I think the color's a little stronger than this. I suspect it's the lighting, because they photographed it against a very, very dark background. This is fairly light in color, and sometimes it's very hard to balance these colors with a camera. You may maybe ask for a daylight photo if you could possibly get it. And then you have this this beautifully done border all the way around in like a lemon yellow with vines and flowers and so forth. And the back of it has the classic back with chimeras going around against that yellow ground. Now here you can see the yellow a bit better. There it is. The color's a little stronger here. But nice blue, nice shading of the blue. And it looks like it's in good shape. I was looking at this pretty carefully to make sure it wasn't damaged, because these enamel pieces are so incredibly prone to damage, because if you flex that copper, the copper is very, very thin on these. And if it gets bumped or flexed just slightly, a chunk of the enamel pops right off, because the enamels are not flexible. And they're very, very prone to cracking. And this one looks absolutely fine. It's 10 inches in diameter. It's got just an $800 to $1,200 estimate on it, which I think is extremely reasonable for one of these that's in such good condition. It appears, you want to get a condition report, just always ask them, has it had any touch-ups? Because sometimes you can't see them so well in the photographs. And maybe get a daylight photo of it if that's possible. You have plenty of time to do it at this point, because the auction's 3.5 weeks away. And just say, is it possible to get a daylight photo to get a better sense of the colors? Because I'm going to bet the colors on this are pretty good. I'm just my hunch, because I've seen a lot of them over the years, and often in photographs they tend to lighten up a little too much. All right, and then over to this, the reverse painting on glass, 19th century. It's 19th century, but it appears to be sort of on the early end of the 19th century. And it's two young lovers, and she's got her bird cage with her 2 chickens in it. It's a charming scene. It's a really, really charming scene. And but it's sort of interesting in a way, because you have these 2 very well-dressed people. He's wearing silk damask jacket, and she's got on very, very lovely apricot-colored sort of shirt or coat, outdoor coat, in this very nice silk floral roundel skirt, and a very, very elaborate headdress and so forth. And he's wearing the headgear of an upper class person, and she's walking around the woods with a basket with chickens in it. which is sort of an unusual. She's not. I don't think she's a farm girl. In other words, so it was something that the artist put together just to demonstrate life in China, I suppose, because all these reverse paintings on glass were pretty much made for export. The glass was actually imported, as many of you know, from the West, because they didn't make sheet glass in China like this. So the Europeans began bringing sheet glass in for the Chinese to do reverse paintings on, and it started a long tradition. They made some extraordinary examples in the 18th and 19th century. But this is a nice one. It's a good looking one. It's got good color. It is estimated just $600 to $800, which I think is extremely reasonable, and it's pretty good size. The image is 16 by 13 inches, so it's a 1.5 feet tall and just a little over a foot wide. It's in a nice frame. The frame works with it really well. It's a sort of a flat matte gray frame, so your eye isn't drawn away from the central image, and it matches up nicely with all the tones in the picture. And it's only got a $300 opening bid. That's something. If you've wanted to own a nice reverse painting on glass that has interesting subject matter, this would probably be it. And then over to this. This is the Kingfisher feather panel on Zetan veneer with a landscape of 19th century. How large is this picture? 33 by 27 inches. So it's a pretty big panel. It's not an 8 by 10. It's almost 3 feet wide. But it's beautifully done. Very, very visual looking thing. And it looks like it's in nice condition. I don't see a lot of losses anywhere. I don't see any areas that look like they've been repaired. And of course, it's a harbor scene in a provincial village on the coast of China. And you have these beautiful mountains looming up in the background in blue, and around the front as well, and so forth. You have bridges and people and boats, lots of activity, and this very attractive frame. I have to say, the frame is quite nicely carved on top of it. Here's a better look at it. Notice the detail. The details on this are really quite extraordinary. Very, very finely detailed panel. Beautifully done all the way around. And you can see the wood panel here. It is literally on a wood panel, which is it gives it a very nice rustic look. And here you have all the figures along the shoreline and so forth. This very pleasing green background that they're walking on. Nice looking thing. And it's got the hanger in place. $2,000 to $4,000 estimate, $1,000 opening bid. I think this will do better than the estimate. I think this is going to do quite well. I don't know what it'll bring. Maybe $5,000 to $7,000. I think it'll do very well. It's very attractive and quite unusual. And unusual and attractive is a good package, and especially if they're big and very, very decorative. And then over to this. This is nice. This is a late Ming, maybe early Qing, but definitely late Ming pedestal with a lotus base and lotus plinth on it. And this is a big thing. It's 27 inches tall, 16 inches wide. So this is a nice big thing. But if you live in the Chicago area and you have a garden, you should buy this thing. It's beautifully carved. I love the animals on it. You're not going to have a lot of competition from out of town because the cost of shipping this, the weight would be prohibitive almost, unless you have a very wealthy person that just absolutely has to have it no matter what, and then you're not going to get it anyway. But absent that likelihood, this is a nice example. But notice the lotus bowl, the lotus platform on the top. This is a beautiful, beautiful stand. Really, really is. I can't say, I absolutely love this thing. And it looks like it's in good condition for one of these. But again, late Ming, early Qing dynasty, somewhere in there. I suspect it's just straight up Ming. I don't know if they're saying 17th century, they're meaning at the end of the Ming dynasty, not in the Qing dynasty. They didn't make a lot of these in the Kangxi period, really. You certainly don't see them around very much if they did. But they did a lot of them in the 1500s and before, of course. It's a very classic style. But this is a wonderful thing, and it's 27 inches tall, so it's got some good size to it. You know, in the summer, put it in your garden. Put a beautiful flower pot on top of it. And then you have this. This is nice. This is a Japanese 16th century or so, maybe a little earlier. No signature on it. It's anonymous, and it's of the Amida Buddha, who was he was in these scenes when you see him standing here on the cloud. he's descending to earth to bring up a soul of a person who is dying to basically to the promised land is what it amounts to. And he would ride down on the cloud, as they say in Buddhism, and he would bring the soul up to heaven, to the land of perfection. And that's what this scene is. And you see, it's a very popular subject matter. But this is a nice scroll because it's early. It's a 15th or 16th century example, and it looks to be in quite nice condition. It's only estimated at $1,000 to $2,000 with a $500 bid. But as you all know, Japanese stuff has been very reasonable lately. What you could get dollar for dollar with Japanese art right now is unbelievable. Unbelievable what a great buy it is. And I know a lot of you have been collecting maybe since we weren't collecting back in the 90s and the 80s and the early 2000s when prices of Japanese things were quite strong. And everybody thought, you can't buy that stuff anymore. And now you can. And but a lot of the people that are around collecting weren't there then, so they don't recognize that there wasn't always a bargain basement environment for Japanese art. Japanese art was sort of at the top of the heap for quite a while, and but it cycled out because of the Chinese economy and all that other nonsense. But the artwork is the same, and it's a great opportunity to acquire good things. All right, and then over to this huge bronze. This is a nice one, Meiji period bronze. It measures 42. Let's see here, 42 inches. Let me see here. It's 42 inches tall and 20 inches wide. Big Meiji period presentation bronze. Wonderfully done. And this reminds me sort of the one that sold at Leland Little a year or two ago. That was actually a little bit taller, but it was a different shape. This is a Koro, beautiful incense burner, and I love the bird on top, and then the dragons squawking up at him. It's a very attractive scene. And as you can see, the relief work, the decoration, the Japanese bronzes, of course, are very prone to a deep relief on their bronzes, much more than the Chinese. And here you can really see this flower coming well off the bronze. And the dragons often are even just only touching; they're actually suspended around the bronze with their feet just touching the bronze to hold like they're standing on it. And but the patina on this is also very appealing. The dragons are beautifully done. If you take a look at this and you look at the way the dragons are done, the minor details are excellent. And then you have this wonderful hawk on the top of it, or eagle. I'm not sure which he's supposed to be honest, but it's some sort of raptor, and very beautiful bronze. And again, probably made in the 1880s or so. It's estimated at $10,000 to $15,000 with a $5,000 opening bid. But this is a big piece of bronze, and it looks to be in quite good shape. You always want to get condition reports on these too, because I don't think it's the case with this one, but sometimes they've had a piece get knocked off and Grandpa soldered it back on badly, and they're very hard to see sometimes in photographs, especially if they've colored in the repair with a marker of some kind. In this environment, they're very hard to spot. So you want to get condition reports always on these big relief work Japanese bronzes. But this one looks like a nice one. Is there history on it? No, just located in Philadelphia. Whoops. Oh, there we go. My plug came undone. Let's see. And then over to this, the Japanese plates, 2 molded Japanese porcelain dishes, 18th century. If you're a blue and white, if you're an Arita buyer, a Mari buyer, these are sort of interesting. They're molded relief work plates. They got the Fuku mark on the back. And what's the scene on the front? It's a court scene. There's a lady in the foreground. I didn't see those before. These are nice. Nicely done calligraphy. You'd have to have somebody break it down, because these obviously tell a story of some kind, and I don't know the story offhand. I just like the look of them. There's the Fuku mark on the back, 18th century. Let's see, how big are these? These are 8 1/4 inches in diameter. Okay, here it is. Here, Underglazed Blue, famous poem by the Tang Dynasty poet Meng Huan. Okay, so that's what it is. The scene is a story. It's based on a Tang Dynasty poem, which the Japanese did do. The Japanese were very interested in many ways with Chinese classical art, Chinese history, Chinese stories and allegories and all that sort of thing. There was a lot of exchange back and forth, particularly to Japan from the Chinese. These are nice. These are interesting plates. The estimate is only $600 to $800 with a $300 opening bid. And then hopping over to this, the last one. This is striking. You know, you see a Japanese cloisonné and champleve and that sort of thing all the time, but rarely are they really great looking. This is a great looking piece of Japanese cloisonné done in the archaistic bronze style of the Chinese. This is a really nice example. The colors are strong. The yellow is beautiful. This aqua blue, the shaping is very, very good. And I believe this is a pretty good sized pot. 12 inches tall. It's a foot tall. Yeah, it is pretty good size. It's estimated at $2,000 to $4,000 with a $1,000 opening bid. It's got a bunch of script on the bottom of it, probably for the maker or something. And there's the side of it. It's got this very lovely soft pink, but the workmanship on this is quite excellent, and much better than the typical cloisonné or champleve you see that the Japanese were doing. Their champleve work was okay, and they did some nice big pieces that are very colorful and very decorative. But this is quite a refined piece, much more refined than the typical Japanese examples, I think. The Chinese did in general do this kind of cloisonné at a bit of a higher tier than the Japanese in most cases. But this piece, I think, is better than most Chinese pieces of the 19th century. This is a wonderfully done example with very good color. Very, very good color, quite attractive. And you could use it. You could put flowers in it. And there you go. $2,000 to $4,000 with a $1,000 opening bid. And we'll see how it does. It's just an interesting looking piece. So that's sort of just a brush through the sale. It's a fairly good sized sale. I have to remind everybody, I think there's a couple of hundred lots in here, but go through it, bookmark what you like. You can do it through the Freeman's own website, of course. I always say register there, do it there. You save 5% right off the top on your buyer's premium, and you get a relationship with them, and they will stay in touch with you about upcoming sales the way all the auction houses do. And check it out. Check out that sale. All right, that's all I have to say on it. I like the auction. Okay, have a wonderful rest of your day. It is, it's only 53 degrees here today in New England at the middle at 2 or so in the afternoon. It's kind of shocking. Summer's coming eventually. It was here, then it left. I guess it's coming back tomorrow. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Subscribe here. Leave a comment. What do you collect? Tell me what you collect. I'm always interested in hearing what people buy. And it also helps us decide on what we're going to talk about sometimes, because I try to remember what people are interested in. And if I see something that is of interest to enough of you, I of course want to talk about it and share it with you so you can build up your collections. All right. See you all next time. Bye-bye.